Greetings, everyone. Steve, Paracords of Kindness. How are you doing today? Hopefully your weaving's been happy. Okay, what I have for you today is I'm going to show you how I make, or how I weave, the Iroquois Path Modified. Here's one I did the other day with some colors in it. Smoke gray, baby blue, fuchsia, and acid purple. But the one we're going to be doing today is this one. It's black, charcoal gray, and stitched in anthracite. Now, I'm not going to be showing the stitching in this, but I am going to show you how I weave this together. And I do it slightly different than any other of the tutorials I've seen. The mechanics are still the same, the overs and the unders, but I kind of combined a whole bunch of the steps into one to make it go a lot faster. But I've got a tutorial on how to do this center stitch. I'll put it in the description below. But if you want to see how I weave the Iroquois Path Modified, stick around because we'll get to it. And I'll have all the tips, tricks, and commentaries. So stay tuned. Okay, folks, I'm back. I'm set up. I'm ready to go. But let's, like I always do, shameless plug. What I have here is a stitched two-color mated snake knot. Not a beginner weave. But I'll leave the tutorial for this, the link for the tutorial, in the cards and the description below. Okay, also, this one. This is a stitched modified Zawbar. And when I say modified, what I actually mean is I have inverted it. Basically taking the original weave and making the non-display side, the side against your wrist, it is now the display side. Right? I go into more details in the tutorial, which will also be in the cards and the description below. Okay, now with that said, I'm going to show you this. Let's see. I made one of these the other day. Right here. Smoke gray, baby blue. The red down the middle is fuchsia. And the side wrapping stitching is acid purple. I posted pictures of this. And there's a tutorial already on YouTube on how to do the bracelet. And somebody asked me, well, how do you do the stitching? So the other day, I made a tutorial on the center stitching, the center zigzag stitching, if you will. We can get this focus, right? Okay. And then I had somebody else ask me, well, why don't you actually do a tutorial on the weave itself? Considering there's only one on YouTube, and this person said, and I know you'll do it justice because you'll give us all the tips and tricks and show us how to tighten this thing up, because he was struggling with how to tighten it up. And it is kind of a difficult one to get to do right. So I decided, okay, I'll make a tutorial for this. Now, if you want to see how to do the center stitching, I'll put the description in the cards and the description below. But today, all I'm going to do is the basic weave. Okay. Now, with that said, let's see. Let's give credit where credit's due. The original design, this is called the Iroquois Path Modified. The original design was by RH. Don't know who that is, not familiar. But it was modified into this version by Cetus 550. Many of us know who he is. You can find a pictorial on his Cetus Weaving Instagram profile. That's where I got it from. As far as I know, it's not in any of his Paracord Live books. And there's only one video tutorial on YouTube. Okay, but with that said, I'm going to show you how I do this. And I'm going to do this, I'll show you this. If we look right here, the blue, which is the accent cord, how it kind of comes up over this edge, and it just kind of looks out of place because the actual meat of the weave has the core strands, or the main color, wrapping around the edge, the gray in this case, right? And that blue just kind of looks out of place. Well, this is the first one I did. And when I made a couple of more of them, I was like, there's got to be a way so you don't see that blue right there, to get it out of the way. So it doesn't just it just stands out. Especially if you use, I seen one person do it in the accent color, the blue, in this case. They did that in yellow, and then the bracelet itself was kind of a light brown. And buddy, that yellow piece stood out. That was the first thing I saw, and it just didn't seem to fit with the overall, weave pattern. And I was like, there's got to be a way to do it. So hopefully, I'm going to see if I can't do away with that. I made it. I've only done this little slight difference. It's all in the way you tighten it up. And once. So hopefully I can remember exactly how I did it, and I can show you. And therefore, we'll get rid of that kind of out of place piece of accent color that's showing there. Right? Okay. Now, with that said, I gave you all I did the credits. Let's see. I'm putting this one on a 15 millimeter or a 5/8 inch equivalent buckle, and you can see that that's a good proportion. Good proportion, right? If you watch my channel, if you know me, you know I don't like to have really wide, huge, oversized buckles on a narrower type bracelet. I want it to be proportionate. And for this one, I would recommend a 5/8 inch. Okay, now it's a four strand core. Obviously, you can see this with the double cow hitch at the bottom. And it's an offset. I'll say this: an offset working end. If you don't know how to set one of these up, there's a link to a playlist in the description below. What is it? Core strand setup playlist or something. Go down. I want to say it's the 7 or 8 videos in that playlist, and the last 2 are how to set up a four strand core with an offset working end. Meaning you're not going to have 2 even pieces coming out that you weave with. You're only going to weave with this one. And the reason I leave this one so long, you'll see a lot of people cut and burn it right there. The reason I do that is so when I get finished with the weave, I can take this piece and tuck it in and back weave it in the back. And I leave it long enough there so when I attach my fid, I can fold it back over itself and get it back in that weave, back in the back side. Make sense? Okay, but when I actually go to weave one of these, this just stays here until the bracelet gets finished. And what I personally do is take one of these little clips and just kind of clip it up out of the way. That way it's not in my way. Okay, let's see. Next thing. The measurements for this. Let's see. The measurements that are going to be below are going to be for a 7-inch wrist. Right? Okay, this one's not being fitted for a 7-inch wrist, so the measurements are slightly different. I've cut it a little bit longer just to make sure I have enough. But all the measurements below, the add to and the measurements and all that are below. And like I say, like I tell everybody, those are not exact numbers. They are based on, for the most part, your weaving style. Me, I pull my stuff as tight as I can. If the knot will allow me, I'll pull it as tight as I can, and I'll push it up toward the top as much as I can. And that tends to lead to me using more cord. Now, some people don't pull as tight, and they don't do all that, so they won't need as much cord. But the numbers I give below are for me. So it's a good starting point. You may actually weave it and have way more left over in the end than you may have needed. But like I always say, I'd rather have 7 feet of scrap to cut off in the end than to get almost down to the end and realize I didn't cut it long enough to finish it. Makes sense? But these numbers are for my weaving style, so that may vary a little on your end. Okay, let's see. What's next? I guess that's it. Okay, this one is not that hard of a weave. It's kind of... If you watch the other tutorial, or if you look at the pictorial, what I'm going to do is going to be slightly different. It's the mechanics, the overs and the unders are the exact same. It's just it may look like I'm doing something different than what them other two tutorials will show you. But I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just doing it slightly different. And it's easier for me in being able to tighten the thing up. Now, you often hear me, yeah, the videos will show you the mechanics, meaning over here, under there, and pull it tight. But they won't tell you how tight to pull it and which direction to tighten it up. So sometimes your bracelet, it won't look right. It won't be tight. And hey, believe me, I'm the same way. First time I make one of these, I'll struggle, but I'll figure it out eventually, how to tighten it, where to tighten it, and all that. And I just remember it. Because a lot of the videos and tutorials, they don't actually show you that. They just give you the mechanics over here, under there, right? But I try to figure all that out. And when I do these videos, that is why they tend to be longer than normal. And plus, I talk a lot. But like I tell people, if you just watch one of the videos and listen to what I say, you'll learn stuff. Even if you don't want to know how to, even if you don't want to know how to do this weave, just sit there and listen. You might learn something that you didn't know. But anyway, with all that said, we're going to start this. Okay. Like I said, this one's not that hard. It just, doing it like the other tutorials I found didn't really work for me. So I kind of come up my own way. Like I said, the mechanics are the same. I'm just kind of doing it slightly different before I can tighten it up. Okay, so let's see. First thing we're going to do, I'm starting on this side because I got my working end over here. The other video tutorial, he starts on this side. It doesn't matter which side your offset working end is on. It doesn't matter. It's just whichever one it's on, you got to orientate yourself and work from that direction. But it's the same thing. Okay, but the first thing we're going to do right here, let me do this. I always do this. Probably should have did this before I turned the camera on, but I didn't think about it. I'll put these my lacing needles on here, my fids on here, just so it's a little easier to see on camera for everybody. And I'm only going to do it on this accent, just because it makes the weaving slightly easier. Sometimes, you know, I know a lot of us don't use the fids until we get down to the end because everything is tight, and then you kind of have to use them down there. Well, sometimes when you weave, if you have them on there, it makes it a little bit easier and quicker to actually do the weave when you have the fids on there. But you have to be mindful that they're on there. That one may need to be... Yeah, hang on a second. Let me fix that one so I can get that fid on there just a little bit better. Give me just a sec, folks. I apologize. Kind of shape it up a little bit better. That way the fid will go on there. Hopefully I did that right that time. Nope. I'll try this again. Yeah, that's going to work right there. Cool back down a little bit. All right, now let's put a fid on there. Okay. But did I finish my thought? A lot of times putting a fid on there, yeah, I do it so the camera can see a little bit better. But it also makes, in certain instances, not always, in certain instances, certain weaves, it makes it a little easier, makes it a little faster to do. Okay, but with all that said, I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully you can see this. Oh, before we start, I'll go ahead and tell you the colors. A lot of people always, want to know the colors. This is black, basic black, and your basic charcoal gray. You can find them pretty much any Paracord supply place. Right? Okay, and I'm going to come back, just so we know, I'm going to come back and stitch this one. I'm not going to do it on the camera, though, but I'm going to stitch it in black also. So, but let's zoom in and we'll get started. Like I say, this one's not that hard. Hopefully, I'll get all this right, because setting this one up is a little different. I've got to do this from memory. And like I said, I only did it that one time the other day. I want to make sure that I do this right. Okay, let's see. We'll start on this side. Like I said, we're going to take this one, our accent cord that's on this side. And what we're going to do is we're going to go under 3 and over 1. We see that? Under these first 3, coming from this direction, we're going to go under 3 and over that last one. And we're going to just pull it through. Going to pull it all the way through. Pull out your slack. Oh, yeah, I guess I should have said this. Let me say this, too. Before I get started, I didn't even think about this. The way I've set up this accent cord, I've had a lot of people ask me about this. I've had a couple of people that are new to the craft, and they've asked about various setups and this and that. All I've done to do this one is I ran it through the back side of this actual cow hitch, these 2 center core strands, where the cow hitch is at the top. All I did was run it through there on the back side. It's not going through the 2 knots on the side. It's only going through that one. Right, so it comes out on the back. Right? Okay. So, with that said, we'll come out, like I said, under 3 and over 1, and we'll just pull that thing tight. Now, we're going to take it. This is where it's going to look slightly different, possibly, than what you may see in some of these other tutorials if you look at them. All I'm going to do is do this. Here, let me back out so you can actually see, so it's not out of frame. Just take it and go up and just curve it around this way. And then we're going to take our main cord and we're going to go over right here and then under here. So basically you're going through this loop you've created. And then you just kind of tighten it up. Make sense? Now I'll show you. This is the way you'll see them. You'll see the other tutorials. They'll do it. How do they do it? They do it. It ends up being the same, but they do it. How was he doing it? Like this or something? I forget how they're doing it. It was just easier for me to do it like this. Just take it and do like that, and that gets you over there, and you just reach through here, and it gets you through that loop. And you just tighten it up. It just eliminates all the, and it gets us straight to the point of the matter. Got somebody over there messaging me about something. That's what that dinging is. We get that. Okay, now here's the part that we're going to try to get rid of the way this blue is coming around the edge. So if you look at this one, you can see where that blue, the accent in the case of this is this charcoal gray. It's just going through the back of this cow hitch. Here's the one side, and it goes through those 2 loops, and it comes around. Right? But I don't want it to come around like this. I want it to be hidden. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do everything the same. I'm going to just do it slightly different. What you would normally do is you would take this gray and you would come over this black right here. Then you're going to do the end of it. You're going to do under the 3 and over that last one, just like we did with the other one. It's just one of those where we just one side, next side, back and forth, and we work our way down. We got that. So we're going to go over that. Your accent color comes from around back, goes over your main working end, and then under these 3 here, and over that last one, and you just pull it. Right? And normally, the way they've done it, the way I've seen people do it, is like this. And what ends up happening is that gray becomes that for lack of a better term, that unsightly piece that's sticking out right there. But I don't want that to be seen on this first weave, on this first repetition, I should say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this one a little bit extra, and it's going to cause it to wrap around the back. Do we see that? And now it's the same knot, it's just it's moved itself around the back. Now you won't see that. And then you just continue the rest of the weave just like you would. And like I say, normally you would do your this is how they would normally do this. They would go over right here and pull it this way and tighten it up. Right? What I'm doing is the same thing. I'm going to take that out. And what I'm doing is the same way. I'm simply going all in one motion. Bringing it up. And having my fingers right here that I'm going to grab. I'm just bringing that black over. There's your over. And then grabbing it right there and pulling it through. That way, now I've got the black working in and the accent working in, the charcoal gray working in my hands. And you see what I'm saying? Now I'm going to fix this because I want it in the back. We pull that back around just like that, pushing it up, and then we just tighten it. Push it up and tighten it. And now we're going to continue on. Let me zoom back in so you can see this a little bit better. I mean, that's basically it. That's all there is to it. This one is not hard. You just got to. Now, here's the thing. This is where one of my buddies, I seen some of his work, and then I showed him how to do this. He said, man, he said, you need to make a YouTube tutorial for that. So I did. But this is what I showed him. I said, try this. Maybe this will help you get it tight. 'Cause he said that first one he made, it wasn't very tight and all that. And I said, well, this is what I did. This is the method I come up with. He said, oh, yes, that helped. He made another one. He said, yes, that helped tremendously. And I seen his two bracelets side by side, and it did. Where he employed the method I showed him, it looked better. So, you know, he said, you need to put that on YouTube. I was like, okay, I will. But this is what I do. Because the next step, right here, just like we did over here, this gray is going to come over the top of that black. Right? But because of what's going to happen in the rest of this repetition, take this black and pull it downward and upward and get it up under behind that gray one as best you can. Right? Now this gray, this gray, just like before, it's going to go under 3 and over that last one. And I'm simply going to do it like this. Under 3 and over that last one and pull it. Now when you get here, you push it up and you pull this gray one tight. And it tightens it up where it comes around here. It tightens all that up. It tightens up the repetition you just did slightly. Right? And now that black is up out of the way, and the way it's coming out, angled downward, that's the way you want it. Why? Because the way the next part of the weave is. Like I say, this is the way I've been doing it. Just creating this little loop right here. Upwards. Coming across it right there. The black goes over the thing, and then in this little loop, you run that black through there. Makes sense? But I've been doing it all in one motion, just kind of loose cinch, push it to the top, and then give it a pretty tight cinch. And you can pull these pretty much straight out, tighten it. Or because you know what's coming next, you can go ahead and put that black up under there, up under the gray on this side, and pull it down at that angle. Pulling it, basically what you're doing is you're pulling it downward, but up at an angle. Does that make sense? Giving it another little push up, and bam. And that way you're already, now you've already done that, getting that black one out of the way, and you're set up for the next one. And you take that gray. You go under those first three, and over that last one, and pull your slack through. And then when you get right there, push it up, pull that tight. See how your black is angled downward, which is the way you want it. Why? Because you see how it comes up and wraps around. And that's the way it's going to do. So now, again, making that little loop. And I do it all in one motion. Make this loop, bring that black over here, and go through this loop. Right there. And pull your slack through. And bam. But see, like I said, I do it in one kind of motion, just kind of, and then just get it up there. When I get to this point, and I'm going to tighten these up, a lot of times, take that thumb and kind of roll that piece of black up, back around the front, to the front of the bracelet. Get that black up under that gray, and rolling this piece of black up here with your thumb as you're pulling this one with your hand. And that gets it all tight. And you got the black under there where you want it, and now we just continue on. We take that gray, we go under three, over under the first three, over that last one, and pull our slack through. Makes sense? Get that black up there where we want it, holding it up there. If it's not going to stay, hold it up there. And then pull this gray. And then it'll stay. And then you take that gray and you cinch it down. I'm holding here and pulling. So my thumb turns white, I'm pulling. And it tightens it all up. And then back to that, do the little crazy loop. Come over the black, or over the black over the gray right there. I grab it through that loop and just pull it. And then when you get right there, you just tighten it up. And like I said, you can go ahead and put that black under that gray on that side and then tighten it up. But as you do, take your thumb and push that black up over this little tiny gray piece you can see right down through there. You're still going to see it, but you're trying to get that black up the top part of it. I know you can't see it very well on camera, but if you look at it from the side, you can see there's a big old gap between this piece of black and this piece of black. Well, you want it, there's going to be a gap in the front part, you see right here. But right around here on the side, you're trying to push that up so that gap is not necessarily there. So, pushing it up as you're pulling this gray here and pulling this black the other direction. And it's all kind of done at the same time. And it tightens that thing up. Right, now we're back to this side. We've already got our black back there where we want it. If need be, it'll fall down, but if need be, you just kind of hold it up out of the way. We take that gray and we go under three and over one. And pull it through. I'm gonna take these off because I really don't need them on here. The way I'm showing y'all how to do this, I don't really need them on there. I'll need them when I get closer to the end. Right? Now we got that up there. Keeping our black out of the way, I'm pulling this gray. Pushing it up and pulling that gray tight. Right? Now, I'll show you one more time. Bring it up. Bring that black over. I'll go through this loop and grab it here. And you we get right here. Switch that black down to the bottom side so you can pull it back that downward and up toward the top. Using your thumb to roll that around the edge and tighten it all up. Make sure it's pushed up. And that's it. We get that. That's how I've been doing it, and it turns out pretty good. And it's tight. It's really tight. Okay, now, like I do in all my videos, that's it. That's all there is to it. You can go, if that was confusing, just rewind it, slow it down, and watch it. Or, you know, like I tell people, don't just watch one tutorial. When you try to make a bracelet, don't just watch one tutorial. Watch 2 or 3 different ones from different people, because they might do it slightly different, because I know I'm doing this different than the other guy is, the other tutorial. Now, the overs and the unders, the mechanics are the same, but the way I'm tightening mine up is totally different than his, or whatever, right? So, you know, watch his. Maybe you'll see something that works better for you. But, like I do in a lot of my videos, I'm going to back the camera out, and now, with less commentary, I'm going to just do this and let you see my hands. That's what a lot of people, I tell people this all the time. Watch the video. I said, yes, listen to what they say. But more so, watch their hands and where they grab the cords, how they grab it, which direction, and how they're trying to tighten up their knot. Because that's what they don't explain. A knot's the most important part. The over here, under there, that's easy. It's how do you tighten it up to get it to look right? Because some of these things are difficult. I will not lie. There's some weaves I tried to still to this day that I can't get to do right. And I'm like, well, I can't figure it out. And I'll sit and work on them, and I'm like, this does not look right. I'm not doing something right. I'm not tightening it in the right order and grabbing it in the right place to tighten it. I hadn't figured those out yet. Right? But, like I say, watch what they do. Not only listen to what they say, but watch what they do with their hands. Where they grab the thick cord, which direction they're pulling it, and how they're tightening the knot up. That's the most important part that most people miss. Right? So, like I say, in most of my videos, once I give you the mechanics, just watch me. Watch what I'm doing here. I've already explained it to you, but now you actually see me in action do it. But you see how I'm taking the steps, the basic mechanics, and I'm just combining a whole bunch of those steps because I've done it so many times. My hands start not skipping steps, but kind of blending this step with this step and this step, blending it all together into one motion. That way, it makes for a faster weave. You get it done faster. But that's all there is to this one. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the camera off as always, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I'm gonna finish this off. Now, being that I'm gonna stitch it, I'm not gonna do a final cut and burn, but I will show you how I finish it off down at the bottom where I tuck everything in at. And then, you know, like always, I know I'm going to stitch it, so I'm gonna cut the cords about an inch, inch and a half and leave them, right? But I'm going to go ahead and, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and weave this out. When I get close to the end, I'll come back. Make sense? But there we go, folks. Be back in a second. Okay, folks, I'm back. I got this thing weaved out to the end. Now I'm gonna finish it off. I'm gonna show you how I do this, or how I'm gonna do it this time. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. A lot of times when I get down to the end, I don't have a set way of finishing each specific weave. I just get down there and I try to maintain the pattern the best I can. Because like I've said, the beginning we saw obviously in this one, and the end are never quite the same as the meat of the bracelet. But when we finish them, we try to keep them as consistent as we can, so it still looks like the rest of the bracelet. And I will always have my cords end on the back. They're not going to be on the front, a big burn, cut and burn on front, and not on the side. They're going to be on the back, right? Preferably all together. But I'm going to see if I can't do this one in such a way as that it maintains these little black edges that are wrapping around. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we're going to try this. Like I say, come with me on the journey, good, bad, ugly. We're all going to learn from my mistakes, because I do make them. But I think what I'm going to do, where I've finished here, I'll zoom in so you can see this. And where I've finished is I've pulled the black one down, and then the gray one has went under 3 and over this last one, and that's it sticking out right here. Okay, and now normally we would do that little knot and tighten it up. Okay, I think I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. First off, let me put me a fid on the end of this. Let me back out just a little bit. That might be a little too close. And I had a lacing needle, I thought, sitting right here. Oh well, doesn't matter. I've got my little handy dandy holder right there. Okay. Let's put this one on here because we're going to need this. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah. It's got a burr on the end of it. I've been meaning to get off. I just haven't done it yet. It's got a burr on a piece of metal from where it was machined. Okay, we'll put a fid on there. Now the way I'm going to try to do this, hopefully this will work. Alright. Instead of doing the knot, instead of coming over the gray and then through here like we normally would, and then just pulling it tight, what I'm actually going to do is take this black one and go through the bracelet so it comes out the back side. Okay? Hopefully this is going to work. Let's see. And where I'm going to go through, there's 4 core strands. When you get down here to the end, you got 4 core strands. You got 2 on this side where this cow hitch is, and you got 2 on this side. What I'm going to do The same place this went through in between the two core strings on this side, that's where I'm going to take this black and go down. Now, that's going to be a tight fit, hence why I put the fit on there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll get that gray over there, and I'm going to go over it like we normally would, but instead of going through this loop, I'm going to just go down right here. Hopefully this is going to turn out and look right. I'm not sure if it's going to, but we're going to see. I think it is. In my mind, all right. Let's see. Is this going to do what I want it to do? Let's see. Maybe. Hang on, like I say, this is a work in progress. I'm not completely sure. Maybe it would be better. Well, no, see, then the gray's going to be. Okay, yeah, let's try that. Let's try that here. Let me pull this black piece out just a little bit. Okay. Figuring this out on the fly as I go. Okay. That gray piece. Like I said, the gray piece from over here went under 3 and it comes up over 1, and that's this. Okay, we're just going to leave it like it is. Instead of making a knot with this black, we're not going to do that. I'm going to just bring this black and go over 3 and under 1. So basically going through the 2 core strands that are on this side and pulling it down. And that's going to give us this little black wrap on this side. And then we're going to take this gray one and bring it across. And that's going to give us the little gray piece in the middle. Now, like I said, it's not going to be perfect, but that's just what we're going through. And then we're going to take the gray, and instead of wrapping it all the way around the edge, I'm going to go in between the 2 core strands that are on this cow hitch. Right? That's my plan anyway. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to see what it's going to look like. And that's going to get it. Right? That's going to get the gray that we just ran through there. Now it's on the back side where we want it. We're not going to mess with that one anymore. Now we're going to take. I'm going to do this right. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm going to take this gray piece, like we've been doing. We're going to go over that black right there, but keep that gray on that back side, and then just take this black and to create this little wraparound. I'm going to just bring it up and over. But on this one, I'm going to stick it down through, in between, right in the middle, in between the 2 hitches, in between 2 core strands on this side, 2 core strands on this side. And again, it's a tight fit, but we're going to get it through there. You see that? I'm going to pull it. Mindful of the twist, get the twist out. Pushing it up, like I said, you know, in the other, making sure it comes up around the edge. And we're going to take that gray that's wrapping around on this side, kind of pull it down, and then pull this black one. Yeah, maybe that black needs to go back one more time on that side. If I do it that way, it's not going to. Yeah, might as well. There's enough room. I know it's kind of hard to see. Here, I'll zoom in. Maybe you can see what I'm talking about. Right here on this edge right here, in between the hitch of the core setup and this wraparound I just did, there's still a little bit of a core strand showing right there. And it just looks like a gap that needs to be filled in. So I'm going to just take that black and come back around and go back down through the middle. That way there's one more black wraparound. It'll kind of cover that gap up just a little bit. Like I say, I just kind of figure this out when I get to the end, but I try to maintain a consistent look. And then just pull it through. Yeah. Yeah. Now it looks a little bit more consistent. Okay, now I'm gonna back the camera out. Now I'm gonna take it off the jig. I've seen me do this quite often. I put that thing on that jig pretty tight. So we're gonna take it off this jig. Get this off. See if it snaps. Watch it. See if it does it. When I relieve that pressure, this piece right here usually bows back into place. See how it bent just a little bit? There was some pressure on there. Okay, now we're going to take it off and get the jig out of the way. Okay, now I'll flip it over. I got all my cords on the back. They're coming out the back. Now we're going to try to get them all into one place. I'm just kind of looking at it to see how I want to do this. Okay, I see what I want to do. The way I'm going to do this. I'll zoom in and I'll show you. This black piece, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this black and this gray piece here, I'm going to back weave it up under this piece of black and that piece of gray right there. And then I'm going to bring this piece of gray around and run it not up under the piece of black, but just up under that piece of gray. And that'll kind of have them all right there together. Now, let's see if I can't do this. I'll take it up under the black and up under that gray. Yeah, that's pretty daggone tight right there. Make sure it's not twisted. Alright, we got that one through there. Now we're going to do this black one next. And we're going to do it up on just the same way, up under the black and the gray. See that? Now, I'm going to kind of pull them this way to make room for this other gray piece. So like I said, this gray piece, I'm not going to run it up under this piece of black. I'm only going to run it up under that piece of gray right there. If I can get it to go up under there, yeah, it's going to go. See that? And I'm going to pull them all pretty tight. And then I'm going to flip it over and make sure the front, yeah, the front still looks decent. It's not, I mean, it kind of maintains the pattern of the weave for the most part. I know it's a little off, but it always is. The end and the beginning are always slightly different. But we try to make it the best we can. Okay, now, we got all those done. And all I'm going to do, and we notice, they're all on the back side, that's primary. I always put them on the back side. I do. But I try, sometimes you can't, but I try to get them all in one place. See how they're all right there together? That way when I go to cut and do the final cut and burn, the molten paracord from all three of these melds into one big piece of plastic. And that prevents it from ever coming back through that. Because I know, you do one over here, you do one cut and burn over here, one over here, one up here, and eventually through time, there's a chance that they will come out from under where you've tucked them in. And your bracelet will start to get loose and unravel. But if you if you got it tight, and then you pull them all up under and get them all right there together, one big piece of hard melted plastic, it's not gonna come unwoven, right? And I know I'm gonna be stitching it, so like I say, leave you an inch, inch and a half, and just cut them off. Bam. Now, even though I'm going to eventually cut these off, I still burn these in, just so they're not frayed. They're not going to fray and all that while I do the flipping and the flopping of the stitching. But I just melt them. Just give them a little melt, not trying to smooth them down, not trying to put a fit on them. Just melt them down so they don't fray. Let them cool off a little bit. Okay, now, leave one fid sitting here because we're going to use it for this, hopefully. Take the other ones off. And put them in the little holder. Get the scraps out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to back out just a little bit. Now I'm going to show you this. A lot of times when you have this, that offset working in, and you have this nub, like I said, you'll see some people, they'll cut and burn it right there. I don't like that. I don't want to be able to see it. I want it back here, right? So what I'm going to do, hopefully I can do this. Let's see, is that going to work? Maybe it will. I leave it long enough. Hopefully I did leave it long enough. Here, let's fix the end of that so I can actually get my fit on it. And I'll melt it a little bit. I'm going to reshape it so it's got more of a taper all the way around. And then just let it hard back up. I'm going to take the fid and put on it. Okay. Now, this is why, hopefully, is that going to work? Yeah, I can get that to work. That's why I leave it so long, so when I go to pull this black piece back through and back weave it, I've got enough slack in this piece of black that I can fold that fid over itself and actually get it in there. Which looks like it might be a little difficult, but I think I can do this. Okay, so just so we can see this is how I'm going to do this. Because I'm going to stitch this thing. I'm not going to do it in this tutorial. You can go watch the stitching tutorial. But I know I'm going to stitch it. And so what I'm going to do, my intent, is this piece of gray that goes across right here, this up under my fid, I'm going to go up under that and have it sticking out down here. And that's where I'm going to anchor this black piece. And plus, when I go to stitch, that's where I'm going to run my piece of microcord up under and anchor it there too. That way the cut and burn for this and the microcord will be in the same spot. Same principle as down here. The microcord, the cut and burn for this and that microcord is going to melt together and become one big lump. Right? So we got to get this back through there. And anytime I do one of these offset working ends, it'll be sticking out here at the front. If you can see how this is, let me get it so you can kind of see. You see how it's sticking out and it's toward the front of the buckle. What I'm going to do is push it back through this black loop that's going around and through the slot of the buckle. And in this case, I'm going to try to get it. I don't know if I'll be able to do this or not. I'm going to try to go up under that piece of gray and in between these two pieces of black where the loops are and get it up under that gray. Let me see if I can get this to do what I want it to do, and then I'll show you once I get it. Go up under this black. Yeah, right there. See how I did that? And I'm going to go up under this gray. I'm not going to do it all in one motion. I don't think I'll be able to. But I can get this through here. And when you get it to right here, it's going to be kind of a tight pull to get that last little bit to pull through. So I'll lay it down on the table, give it a good, oh, there it goes. Now, you don't have that piece sticking out. This black piece is no longer sticking out up here. It's on the back side where we want it. And I'm going to just run it up under this piece of gray right here. Right there. Just like that. And that's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this one an inch and a half, because I know I'm going to stitch it. And the reason I do it that way, I've said it, I'll repeat it, you know, in case you missed it. The reason I don't go cut and burn it right here and right now, why? Is because that piece of hard plastic may get in the way of me trying to run my stitching needle through that bracelet. Makes sense? So you leave it like this and you stitch it out, then you do your final cut and burns. That's the way I do it. Okay? Now, just like with these pieces down here, all I'm gonna do is just kind of melt it, because eventually that piece is gonna get cut off. But just melt the end of it so it doesn't get frayed while you're working. That's too short to do anything with, so we're just gonna get rid of that piece. But there is the weave. Now I made this, like I say, a lot of times I'll make these, you know, I'll size them for my wrist. Well, this one's not being made for my wrist. This is being made for a wrist that's 7 3/4 inches. So, let's just see what we got here. Hopefully this thing's going to fit right. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a 7-inch mark, there's an 8-inch mark. That's a 7 3/4 inch wrist if you ask me. And you know, if truth be, I can push it down a little bit. That's just me, just snug, like right where it stopped. All right. But there you go. I'll give you a good look at it before I go. See the back side. I'm thinking about, this is something I'm thinking about doing also. Because the back side of this bracelet is not bad looking. I think what I may do is, I'm going to see if I can do it. I'm sure I can. Is it going to turn out good though? That's the question. I'm going to make one of these and invert it the way I did this. I know some people, I'll just throw this information out there. I know some people, when they go to do it, what they'll do, instead of putting the buckles on their jig like they would normally would, they'll take their buckles and they'll flip them over. And then they'll just simply weave the bracelet like they normally would. But then when they take it off, it's backward. The weave is on the buckle backwards or inverted. You see what I'm saying? So you end up wearing it like this as opposed to like this. Right? Well, you can do it that way, and many people do, and there's nothing wrong with it. But me, I like to challenge myself. What I do is I'll put the buckles on the jig like you normally would. And then when I go to weave, I simply invert the mechanics. All the overs and unders, I simply do them the opposite of what they normally would. That way, what ends up happening is you weave it out, and what was the non-display side becomes the display side. The end result's the same, it's just you're doing it slightly different. Makes sense? And I may try to do that with one of these, because that's not a bad looking way. And especially when you do the stitching, this center stitching that I'm going to do, what you end up having is these little wraparounds on these black pieces of core strand. You can see it on this right here. See, that gray core strand's running down through there. But that center stitch that I'm going to do on this one, that it wraps around that core string, and that gives it a little extra detail. So, you know, you can weave it and wear it this way, or you could invert the weave or flip your buckles, whichever way you prefer, and do it that way. And then you have the little stitching just on the core strings. But like I said, that's how I do this. This is what is this? A modified the Iroquois Path by Cetus, original design by RH, whoever that is. But that's how I do it, folks. I appreciate you watching. Give us a like, give us a share, subscribe to the channel. And like I say, all the information will be in the description below. And, you know, the links to the playlist, the core string setup playlist, and all that stuff. Check out the description. But with that, I'll end this one like I end them all. Keep it neat, keep it clean, and keep it tight. Happy weaving, folks.